Tristan, my friend, how are you doing?
What's up, man?
Not much. Beautiful day out. I'm excited to connect today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I know you do everything under the sun and you're an incredibly busy man, but today I wanted to pick your brain about your real estate team, Tristan Associates. Is that cool?
That's awesome, man. Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, can you start us off? Everyone has their, how they got started in real estate story. Can we hear yours?
Yeah, my real estate journey started in 2003 when I was wrapping up college. And I was already married at the time, living with my mom. We were living in a room in my mom's house. And and I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be a history teacher because I have a history degree. I don't want to be a history teacher. And she's like, well, you know what? Real estate agents drive nice cars. That would be something to look into. And I was like, done. Let's do this. So I went out to my local real estate office. I'm like, how do you become a real estate agent? And they're like, you have to take these classes. So by the time May 2004 came around, I got my license that month. I remember because I also graduated that month. So it just
Okay.
coincided. And then as soon as I got my license, I went door knocking for 6 hours my first day because I had already had a lot of preparation, right? It's like,
Right. Did you get your first deal that first day of door knocking?
no, I didn't. I got my first lesson, which was don't dress up with a suit and tie and dress shoes when you're door knocking for 6 hours.
Right. So you learned the hard way.
I did, man. But it was great. I loved door knocking. I realized quickly my first year that everything that I had done during high school, summer, and part of college for work, which was telemarketing, all ended up helping me become a really great real estate agent the first
Right.
year.
I have some telemarketing experience under mine too.
What
So
did you do?
I sold in telemarketing, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I sold, what was it? It was siding for houses. So we would
Oh,
call
wow.
people and ask them if they wanted a free estimate for residing their home. And I was actually pretty good at it. But that gave
Wow.
me a little bit of my sales experience, which I then took. I didn't start in real estate right away. I actually had a 7 year stint with the Air Force for a little bit as a
That's
civilian.
cool.
But then I used that and what I learned from the Air Force to start my team back in 2013. So a little bit after you.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
you went from door knocking that first day, you built quite the team that you still have today.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. When did
Yeah.
you get your first deal and when did you decide, hey, I think having a team might be something I want to do?
Yeah, I thought about leveraging really early on because I was getting more business than I could handle. And that was coming just from referrals, from everything I was doing, door knocking, cold calling, open houses. And I was about to pull the trigger and then the market tanked. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay, what's this? Right. And so as the market tanked, I was not in a good place. I was like, I don't even know how to adjust to this. I should have stuck to, because I also got into law school. I'm like, I should have stuck to law school.
Okay.
And so as I figured things out, I came across a friend of mine who said, hey, you know what? There's this guy named Craig Proctor. He's saying to post on Craigslist. And I was like, sure, I'll try. It was a 6-page PDF. I read
Yeah.
it. I was like, that sounds easy. I'll do it. Posted it. I started getting business from it. So then I was like, shit, if it's working at the level that he's telling me to do it, why don't I like 20x it and post every single minute
Right.
while I'm awake? So I did. And then I got banned. So,
I've also been there. I actually had a software that would post for me, and I got banned. And then it just became so hard to not be banned that I ultimately moved on to something else. But
right?
it works. It definitely works. We've gotten a
Dude.
lot of deals from Craigslist.
It worked so well that I started a small, very small team, right? And I was like, this is going to be cool. And then realtor.com came around and then they had this product that they called me on and said, hey, we've got this. And I'm like, wait a second, this sounds like Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
And I won't get banned. I just have to pay.
Right.
So I
Right.
paid for it, and they gave me the whole county at the time. They didn't know what they had, and neither did I.
Right.
And then that blew up our team because I was like, holy cow, I have the whole county. We have to cover this whole area in Ventura County, and I can't keep up. There's no way. And that's when I really started the team at that point. And then it just grew from there. We started understanding online leads better,
Mm-hmm.
processes, systems, to the point that realtor.com's like, hey, what are you doing? Because you keep on buying more and more areas, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
keep on expanding, and now you're going to go to San Francisco and Hawaii, and so they had me on camera. I showed them our processes, our systems. I had taken a little bit of what I learned in telemarketing, and I started a small like ISA team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we brought that in with some tech at the time, and they loved it. And they said, "Hey, can you go and speak for us around the United States on how you're having great success with our product?"
Oh, cool.
And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So then everyone started saying, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? What's this? What are you putting in place? What are you adding here? What are you doing there?" So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Sure, that's a lot of questions, man." So I said, well, maybe we should like run a blog or something on this. And so in a plane ride to flying wherever we were going to, my wife said, you should start a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of Lab Code Agents right there.
Very cool. And you've grown. I'm a member. I love it. I've you've grown it to what, 160,000
Yeah.
plus
We're about
today?
150,000, and
Yeah.
it's pretty active. It's great.
Right.
I'll share ideas there where the markets get going and tech and everything. And then as I was building that, I was building a team as well. So our team kept on getting better and better, more refined. And most of our business, and it's still similar, most of our business at the time came from past clients, course sphere,
Mhm.
referrals, right? And
Right.
then second to referrals were online leads. And so
Okay.
the thing though, online leads at that time started pivoting. It was, I mean, I was spending 70,000 a month on realtor.com and Zillow and some on Google ads at the time, Google AdWords, Google
Hmm.
PPC,
Right.
and Facebook lead ads were brand new, 2015 ish, the middle. And then, so 2016, we cut all of Zillow and Realtor.com because at that point, the price just kept on going higher and higher per lead.
Right.
And we had figured out our processes for Facebook and Google. So we're like, you know what? My net, isn't the same as it used to be when I start. When Realtor.com didn't know what they had, man, my net was great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I pivoted out of that in 2006. It was October 2016. And I said, I'm out. And dude, it felt so freaking scary. Like, what am I doing? Like $70,000 a month is getting me this many, but they're pretty good quality leads, right?
Hmm.
Bottom of funnel leads. And so we were freaking out. And some of my team members were freaking out. I lost some team members. It's like, no, we have to work harder for these other leads. We have to nurture these Google leads. What's going on?
Oh
Right.
man, I've never heard that before.
So that was not a fun time. But I can tell you, fast forwarding to now, the bottom line, our net is so, it's just really healthy, right?
Hmm.
I can invest more in staff. I can invest more in things that'll make us even more money. I can explore more. There's just a lot more to play with in
Right.
comparison to just going all in with Zillow and Realtor.com. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a step back if you don't mind. So you're pretty lean now. You have a healthy net and your team, but let's go back to when you first decided to build the team. Where were you getting your advice from? Were you kind of just doing your own trial and error? Were you reading
Yeah.
books? I know you're an avid reader like myself. I try to read everything I can, but who is your first hire? And then how do you personally attract and retain and keep your team motivated?
That's a good question, man. I think the first hire that I had first was a transaction coordinator because I couldn't keep up, right?
Right.
And so they allowed me to do the things that I wanted to focus on and
Mhm.
not do the paperwork, which I hate. And most agents hate paperwork.
Right.
There's just a few that do love it.
Yep.
Then from there, I thought, well, what do I need? Because most of my business at the time wasn't coming from referrals for a period of time. It was coming from Craigslist, right?
Mm-hmm.
That period where I was experiencing growth mode.
So this was
And
still you with a TC, a transaction
yeah,
coordinator,
right there, right.
inbound
2000,
leads.
it was 2007 and 8.
Okay. And you were
Specific.
handling the inbound leads, acting as the ISA or inside sales agent, setting your
Everything.
own appointments, going on your own appointments, signing them,
Everything was me. Yeah.
everything. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, damn, I can't, I'm closing on my own. At that time, I was hitting almost 50 transactions a year on my own. Our
Wow.
average price point at the time was about 600,000. So,
Okay.
and I'm like, I can't keep up. I can't live right like this. And that's when I decided, okay, I need somebody. I don't need an admin because my TC handles some of the admin work. What I need
Mm-hmm.
is somebody to field these calls and go through and tell me which one is going to be good or not.
Right.
So because I looked at where does most of my business come from at the time, that's who I hired too. I
Okay.
said, great, I need a lead ISA, right? I need somebody to field these calls incoming or if we get inquiries. And that's what
Right.
I hired first.
You remember where you hired them or where you found them?
Yeah, I posted it on Craigslist
Okay.
and it
I
worked.
actually think one of our first ISAs was from Craigslist as well. That's, do people use Craigslist anymore? I haven't used it in a long time.
No, dude. I'm pretty sure it's still around, but not the
Yeah.
same, right?
Not like it was. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got an ISA on Craigslist. They kind of took the administrative burden off of you. That's time consuming, right? So you were buying back your time by
Yeah.
having someone funnel all of these leads for you, right?
Yeah. And I think because I came from a calling background, right? I did a pretty decent job educating this person and understanding if they were good on the phone or not as well. So I
Right.
made a good hire for the first one.
Okay.
And that allowed me to scale more on that. Now I was showing it. I'm like, wait a second, now we're getting busier,
Mm-hmm.
way more. And now I need to field some of these leads that we're getting to another agent, right?
Right.
And that's where I was introduced to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book at the time. And then they talked about this model listing agent, buyer's agent, all this stuff. And then I looked at it and I actually read the book and I was like, okay, I like the idea. But what I had noticed in talking to other people at the time, still outside of our real estate business, is that I felt it had no real growth potential for the great agents because
Mm-hmm.
great agents want to handle both sides and they want to know that they're not stuck. The reason that they come here to real estate in general is so
Right.
they have a sense of freedom, not so they can work their ass off and do one thing only. This
Mm-hmm.
is the general population, right? Does it work in some cases? Of course. So I said, no, I'm gonna hire agents to handle everything. They can do buyers, they can do sellers, they can do whatever they want, right?
Right.
And so I did that, and I was right. Most agents don't want to feel like they're trapped to doing one thing, and that's why I
Mm-hmm.
still have those agents on my team, dude. It's
Okay.
crazy, right?
Cool.
I gave them the ability to grow, and I realized that not only now that I have gotten brokerages and teams and everything, I realized that the number one reason people leave is that teams and brokerages is that they feel there's just no more growth potential. That's the number one reason. And
Agreed.
so we had to stay ahead of that and say, okay, well, what's next? What can we offer teams, brokerages, and so forth? On the team level, we came up with a model early on where if you've been with the team for a while and you're a producer, the talent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Talent. Then what we'll do is we'll create a team within our team. I'll pay for everything still, right?
Okay.
Your job, so I'm thinking leverage, your job, team leader, you field all the calls, contract questions, coaching, guidance, all of that. And you're going to get an override for every transaction that happens in your team,
Okay.
right? 5% override off the top. This way, the better you do and the better they do, the more we all make. And I'm still upfronting everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then now we have all these teams in our organization, and they're getting a piece of everything that we do, and I'm still fronting everything. That's the same model we run today.
Okay.
Um, so
So you set up teams within your team that benefit when they make more money. Obviously, you make more money, but you're also feeding them and kind of giving them the autonomy to operate under your guidance and sort of, SOPs or standard operating procedures and processes, but they're free to kind of operate as they see fit and make high. Are you still involved in the hiring process at this point? Or are they
not
kind of like
really.
on their own, just going to you when they need to?
My director of ops is the final has the final say on who we hire.
Okay.
Because her job is to keep the culture, right? So we don't hire ego driven people that's just me, or just I just want leads, right?
Right.
No. We hire people that have great character, man. That's the number one thing we look for. So we ask a lot of questions. We get into conversations. We have multiple interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you can instantly see it's not a fit.
Right. Where's their best? On our team, we call it an OSA or an outside sales agent, basically a realtor, right? Where's your best agent coming from?
They're coming from other. Um, hmm. Well, hold on, because we've also had some brand new agents that are amazing. Here's what I've noticed: two places. One, new agents that have been on their own for about a year to 2 years that have been unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
When we interview them and they have the right character, those have produced amazing. They just
They
they
kind of have the
honestly,
drive, but can't quite figure it out on their own.
and they understand that they understand that you are someone that's going to help them,
Right.
right? Because when you hire brand new agents, typically what happens is like, oh, why are you taking 50%? Right? They have that mindset. It's like, what? The other ones are like, oh yeah, shit, they're giving me 50%. It's great, right?
Right.
Different mindset. Then the other side, it's like if we look at outside of real estate, the ones that have done really well in our industry are two. It's military. They just so regimented, and they just show up and do what they need to do.
They like
Those are,
checklists. They like processes.
and
Yeah.
I love because that's how I am. I'm like checklist, this process. Just show up. It's
Right.
fucking boring. Just show up. Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? That's number one. And number two is people that come from a service industry, a high
Mm-hmm.
level service industry. So either at an amazing restaurant, right, where they trained you to have service first, client oriented first, or hotel industry, service first, or Nordstrom type of an environment. So they
Right.
understand that they understand how to serve the client and create that relationship,
Yeah.
right?
You want to know one of our best saleswomen who we ever had, kind of around the same concept, timeshare sales. She was
Dude, that's
the
good.
honestly, I've never seen anyone like her before. She's no longer, she went on to, do her own thing. It was just that level of mentality with her.
That's
But
awesome.
um, her first week, she was getting trained, unbeknownst to us, went out, signed the client on our like third or fourth day, came back and had us, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is the top of the top. And then we started just focusing on where can we meet some more timeshare
Dude.
salesmen and women, which is great. So if for those of you listening, if you're looking to get absolute A team players, that for us was like, we've never seen anything like that before.
Listen, man, that's a great point. I think if I'm looking to hire, I'm going to the Four Seasons and the Ritz Carlton close to you, and then
Right.
I'm also going to go to Nordstrom or something that's at that caliber. And you know what? Specifically, if you're going into Nordstrom, you're going to go into the shoe section, right? they deal with so many people back and forth. I think that's probably the busiest section of Nordstrom, if I think about
Hmm.
it.
Right.
And you go to a section that has that amount of back and forth with humans, and then you just listen and you just watch, and then you buy a pair or go through a process,
Hmm.
and then you see what type of service you get and how they follow up, and then I think at that point it's like they've got the piece that's the most important piece down to succeed in our business, right? And if they're
Yeah.
coming in from shoes, I always say, well, damn, you're coming in from shoes, everything else is going to be easy.
Right. Yeah. Service oriented, that mentality is really important. You can get a salesperson with this big ego, right? Might, on paper at first seem like this is the person for us. But if you're trying to hire the right person for the right seat, you want that service oriented mentality of how can I make whether they're helping you buy a pair of shoes or helping you buy a home, what's in their best interests. And that's the kind of people that are going to be with you long term. Like you're obviously seeing for yourself too.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah.
I agree. I think when it comes to hiring, we just have to be very careful. And
Hmm.
I made a whole bunch of mistakes. I'm not saying most people aren't going to make the mistakes, but they are. And I don't know that I would necessarily be quick to fire and slow to hire.
Hmm.
I think I would be. So here's the thing that's it's often misquoted, but when you look and you talk to some of the top CEOs and the executives that are also making this company, whatever company it is, successful,
Hmm.
you look at them having some things in place in order to hire quickly, and that's they've got the values set. They all understand what their avatar is for hiring, so it's a lot easier to hire quickly. So
Right.
so in order to be able to hire quickly, you need to make sure that you have your values set, and it's clear to everyone who's hiring,
Right.
right? That's number one. That's why we hire quickly. It's like, oh no, oh yeah, let's do that one, dude. I jump on the phone with somebody. I'm like, this is it. I skip everything. I'm like, this person's hired,
Yeah. You
right?
just trust your gut at a certain point too. You do that. Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're looking for, right?
Hmm.
Then the second part to this, and this is the more challenging part, and that's you're slow to fire too. Minus somebody breaking some crazy ass law or doing
Right.
something fucking weird, right? Minus that.
Right.
If they're not showing up and they're not motivated and something's going on, you've got to look at yourself and say, what am I doing? What's the organization doing that's allowing this to happen? Because something's up here. What am I missing? Right? I set this up. I set myself up for failure. What's going on?
Right. And in a
I,
lot of cases too, it's not fair to be quick to hire because the person you have on your team, whatever position they're in, might not even know because you're not giving them that feedback. And I think I read something like that in this book over here, which is great, by the way. But we're on the same page length there. Like you want to hire, and kind of taking a step back too, is you want to hire before you're in that desperation need to hire, right?
right?
So
Yeah,
never
that's
hire or make
true.
decisions when you're absolutely forced to do it because you're going to hire the wrong person. But yeah, that's a
Did I lose
great
you?
kind of motto to live by.
There it is. I lost you for a little bit.
Oh, are we
Yeah.
back? Sorry about that.
Yeah, dude, I agree. And I think slow to fire is important too. I think a real, authentic, personal conversation has to take place a couple of times because I always look at it and say, well, you hired them for a reason at the beginning.
Right.
What happened? What
Yep.
something happened along the way.
Let's talk about that. So you have an expansive team, right? And there's a lot of things happening. And I know you have your team leads, but how do your team leads know who's performing, who's might be underperforming? Are you still involved in that level of detail with them,
Yeah,
or what's the
I
report
am.
back structure like?
We take a look at performance. So we take a look at how the day looks, what they're focusing on priority wise. So our team leaders report that to me, and then we look at transactions. It's like, well, what's closing? At the end of the day, it's like what's closing. And if
Right.
something isn't closing, then we take a look back and say, well, what actions are being done, and more importantly, what is this person prioritizing? Are they having a challenge at home? Are they having a challenge with their health? Are they
Hmm.
having a challenge mentally? what's actually happening here. And
Right.
then we find that most of the time, because we did a great job hiring initially, right? That if they're not performing, something's happening internally, dude. It means they're not aligned with what they want as an output, meaning mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Something's going on.
Mm-hmm. And
And
how
if we don't ask,
often do your team leads meet with the agents underneath them to make sure that they're,
oh,
aligned and meeting
that's
those?
very fluid. They're meeting weekly, man. So
Okay.
weekly, and we have team meetings. That happened. This is why the splitting the team up into like team leads, team leads worked so well, because it allowed us to all just stay connected really well. And then we still have as a team, we still have our team lunches. So we do that. Every other week we go, and I pick a place locally and I bring the whole team, the
Cool.
local team together. Because
Right.
right, other than that, I'm like, I can't help you guys that are not local.
Yeah.
Um, LA, Ventura County, the local teams get together. So we have fun, and it keeps it really nice.
Yeah, that's an important piece too. We do Top Golf, that kind of thing. Just an outing kind of
Cool.
away from the office. It's always fun to keep up with people at a both
Yeah.
professional and personal level, obviously, to get some camaraderie going on. But
Yeah.
that's great that you do that every week or every couple of weeks or so. So the big question is, you know, you you're well aware of the state of the real estate industry now, with inventory levels low, mortgage rates high. What are you guys doing to kind of keep up with your high production? What are you kind of telling your team how to go after, because inventory is hard right now and a lot of people are
Yeah.
struggling.
That's very true, man. We actually have been doing really well this summer, which is cool to see. And if you take a look at where most of our business is coming from, it's the same too, right? Which is referrals from our three sources:
Mm-hmm.
past clients, Sphere, and other agents. That's
Okay.
number one. And then number two, online leads, specifically for us, Google pay per click.
Okay.
And so we just continually push through on Google. I don't know that we spent even more after earlier this year. I think I hit a bump. I pushed in a few thousand more into Google PPC.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we really didn't push any more, and we're doing still very well. I think the key comes into two things here. One, understanding that a lot of people aren't going to be able to move because there's an affordability issue with inventory being so low and prices staying high still.
Right.
Interest rates are freaking like out of this world, so affordability gets crunched. So when we talk to people, we try to remove the market from the conversation, because everyone is talking about the market. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm talking to you, Andrew, I say, Andrew, look, the market's freaking crazy, right? Of course. And it's like, I don't know that a lot of people can buy or sell at this point, but why did you want to move? Because we got to the conversation, and you'd be like, well, I really want to move because, and that's what we get to. When you
Mm-hmm.
tell me why you really want to move, right? Then we can work with that. Because I can't work with the market, but I can work with why you really want to move. Then
Yeah.
at that point, I can see, how serious are you? Is this reasonable? Is it kids? Is it relocation? Is it what is it? Retiring?
Right.
I don't know. But a lot of us, when we're talking to Google leads or any leads coming through, we're like, thanks for visiting our website through whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you want to take a look at this home right now? Are you pre-approved and people don't want dude, that's not the conversation people want to have initially.
Right.
They want to, first of all, they want to know that you actually care a little bit.
And
Like,
understand them, right?
like, why would I even know? No, you're like, you're escalating this so fast. It's like, we're not even dating. I don't even know if I like you, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you have to tell me. It's like, now you have to ask questions. It's like, look, listen, Andrew, you're probably not even going to purchase anytime soon, but I don't want to send you homes that look like crap either. So what are you looking for? You know what? Are you looking for move-in ready fixers? You want to be up in the mountains towards the beach? Where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, you're like, yeah, Tristan, look, I'm just looking. Yeah, but look, I don't want to spam you either. It's like, okay, well, look, I'm probably looking closer to be in the mountains, but we're probably not looking for 2 years. Like, yeah, well, what's happening in 2 years, Andrew? And you're like, well, and then you start talking to me. Because
Right.
everybody's going to tell you, I'm just looking. Everybody's going to tell you, yeah, I can look at myself. I can look by myself on the MLS. Oh, I use Redfin, right? So you just have to be prepared to just talk to people so that they know that you actually care and you're not going to spam them. That's
Right.
the last thing people want.
No, that's great advice. And something that we also try to follow, that connection. I mean, any real estate agent can send someone stuff, right? Put them on a drip, but to have that true understanding to make it feel like you're really taking care of them, I think that above and beyond shows them that you listen to them, right? And
Yeah.
you're really hearing what they have to say. So Tristan,
That
I know we're, oh, go ahead.
well, that then another piece, man. I think the other piece is when you know that most of the business for real estate agents is coming from referrals, number one, right? And then you also know that the consumer, you look at them and saying, where are they going? What are the top most visited websites in the world according to Wiki? It's Google,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what's my plan for all five of those? Right?
Right.
What is my plan for those? And then on the other side, it's like referrals. Well, what's my plan for that? And your plan for that, by the way, and I know you know this, Andrew, but in general, your plan for that isn't just calling and asking how people are doing. Your plan for that is calling and giving them value so that they get used to you
Right.
calling and saying, oh, it's Tristan. It's something important.
Right.
It's not, oh, it's Tristan. He's just going to ask me how my home is doing again. Right.
Yep.
So that you have to have a plan for both. And that's what we've been adjusting really well.
Great. Great. I mean, yeah, you have to adapt, right? And we're in different times now. Maybe that worked 10 years ago, but it certainly doesn't work today. So great teams, that's what they're doing. Um,
Yeah.
Tristan, I know we're coming up to time here. Sort of how I like to end these conversations is just what's one thing, if you can go back to 20 plus years ago when you first started and you're talking to yourself, what's one thing that you would say, you wish you knew that you could tell yourself back then?
That I was right many more times than I was wrong about about tech, about the market, and about real estate in general. And so I would have just taken the chance much sooner
Right.
than and dude, because you're new and you're like, but I don't know, right? Who am
Hmm.
I? And now I just you look back and shit, I'm so connected to the industry. When
Right.
everybody calls a crash, I'm like, no, you guys are all wrong. Just be louder and just take that chance. Because the times that you're right, fuck, dude. That's what I would have been like, Tristan, listen to yourself,
Yep.
even though it sounds crazy. Just
Right.
listen to yourself.
Yeah. You know, just as well as everyone else who are commenting on the state of the market or whatever the topic is. So that's great advice. I wish I had told myself that too when I first started.
It's the
Well,
imposter syndrome. That it's like, no, we can't be right. Who are we?
right. Right. Well, why are they right? Because they're loud, right?
Dude.
And they get out there and they do it.
Because they have the confidence.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tristan. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today, and wish you best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, man. I appreciate being on.
All right, take care.